I brought my kids home for Christmas, then my dad said, everything was peaceful until you showed up. Hi, I'm Derek, 37, and I used to think nothing could ruin Christmas faster than burnt pie or political debates. Then my dad opened his mouth. I walked into my parents' house on Christmas Eve, holding a bag full of wrapped presents and a store-bought pecan pie that cost way too much, with my 2 kids trailing behind me like they'd been sentenced to this. They were already dragging their feet like they knew what kind of night this was going to be. The moment we stepped inside, it hit me. Same dusty garland from 2002. Same weirdly cold hallway, because they refused to fix the draft. Same old fake cheer echoing from the living room. The last time we did Christmas here, it ended in a screaming match about my divorce 3 years ago. And somehow, I was the one who got blamed for leaving a man they'd always hated. I walked into the living room, trying to fake some holiday spirit for the kids. My dad didn't even pretend. He looked up from his recliner like some Walmart version of The Godfather and said dead serious, everything was peaceful until you showed up. That was it. No hello. No, Merry Christmas. Just a verbal slap to the face with the room full of red sweaters watching like it was pay-per-view. My youngest, Logan, he's 7, was holding a handmade card he'd drawn for my dad. It had snowmen and stars and a shaky little "Merry Christmas, Papa." The kid just dropped his eyes and stood there like he'd done something wrong. And that's when I snapped. Not with yelling, not with a scene. I kissed Logan's head, stood tall, and said, "Then my money's leaving with me." You could have heard a peppermint bark snap from the kitchen. My mom gasped. My cousin Rachel stopped chewing mid-bite. My dad looked like someone told him his truck got repossessed. "What money?" he asked. I pulled the envelope out of my coat pocket, held it up so everyone could see. $10,000. I'd saved up all year bit by bit to help them with the roof, the busted furnace, and the rotting kitchen floor they'd been complaining about since I was a teenager. Then I ripped it in half, dropped it on the hardwood. I said, "Not anymore." And I turned to leave. Ava was already halfway out the door, trying not to cry. Logan stood frozen with that stupid snowman card in his hand. We had just reached the porch when the door flew open behind us. "Derek, wait," my dad called. He never does that. And that's where the story really begins. He was on the porch in socks, of all things. My dad, Mr. Tough Guy, standing in the cold with his arms half raised like he didn't know whether to hug me or beg. And for once, he didn't look smug or stubborn. He looked scared. Like the second I walked away, he might actually lose something. He couldn't bully back into place. "I shouldn't have said that," he muttered, glancing at Logan. "I don't know why I said it. Please, come back in. Don't leave like this." I didn't move. "You want us to come back in?" I asked. "Then apologize to Logan right now." He hesitated. And in that pause, I swear it felt 20 years of childhood rage bubble up in my chest. I thought he'd refuse. Thought he'd double down like always. But then he looked down at my son, this tiny kid clutching a wrinkled snowman card, and said, almost to quiet, "I'm sorry, buddy." Then he looked up at me. "I'm sorry, Derek." I nodded. Then, without thinking, I slapped him. Not hard, not angry, but loud enough that the sound cracked through the cold like a firework. He blinked. I didn't say a word, just took Logan's hand and kept walking. Behind me, the front door didn't close. No one followed. The next morning, I woke up to 9 missed calls, 5 voicemails, and 2 texts from Mom, just crying emojis and a photo of the Christmas tree. Logan and Ava were still asleep in my bed, curled under the weighted blanket like turtles hiding in their shells. I drank coffee in silence, let the voicemails pile up. By noon, Uncle Mike showed up with a paper bag of cookies like he was bringing medicine to a battlefield. He said the family was freaking out, that my dad hadn't spoken since I left, just sat in the recliner, staring at the fireplace like it owed him something. Then he pulled out the snowman card. "It got stepped on," he said, handing it to me. "But it's the only thing your dad picked up off the floor after you left." I didn't say anything. I wanted to believe this was a breakthrough, a turning point. The kind of scene they write in movies where the angry father finally softens and everyone hugs at the end. But Mike shook his head. "Don't forgive him yet. He needed that slap more than anyone I've ever met. And honestly, most of us agree with you." That night, Mom finally sent a real message. No apology. Just, your father wants to talk. Of course he did, but I didn't answer. Not yet. 2 days later, I came outside to start the car and the windshield was shattered. Not cracked. Not chipped. Shattered. Like someone took a bat to it. There were boot prints in the snow. My mailbox had been kicked sideways. No note. No subtlety. I didn't need a detective. I had a porch camera. I'd installed it after some neighborhood kids trashed our pumpkins back in October. This time, it didn't catch any teenagers. It caught my father at 412 creeping up in his flannel coat, glancing around, then swinging something hard and fast into my car, then jogging off like he was 15, not pushing 60. I called the police. 10 minutes later, Officer Garcia pulled up. Small town guy, the kind who's usually more interested in bake sales and missing cats. He'd been flirting with me at school events for months, never too pushy. Just a lot of, "Hey, nice to see you again," and too long eye contact. But today, he was all business, until I showed him the footage. "You want to press charges?" he asked, already knowing the answer. "Absolutely," I said. He nodded. "Good. He doesn't get to act like this and walk away from it." That night, my dad was booked for property damage. 7 days in county, plus restitution for the car. Garcia said the DA pushed it through fast. Because it was deliberate. Because it was on camera. And because apparently this wasn't his first outburst reported to the police. Yeah, turns out I wasn't the only one. Suddenly, the family call started again, but different this time. Less rage, more quiet agreement. Aunt Denise texted, "What you did was brave." My cousin Leah sent a voice memo. "You finally did what the rest of us were too scared to." And just like that, I wasn't the family screw-up anymore. I was the one who drew the line. The next morning, I got a message from Garcia. "He's out. Let me know if he comes near your house." It's documented. That day, nobody called. Not my mom. Not my uncles. Not even Rachel. Just silence, like they were all waiting to see what he'd do next. And to be honest, so was I. The knock came 2 days later. It was Uncle Pete, holding a brown paper bag like it contained peace offerings. He didn't wait for an invite. Just stepped inside and put the bag on my kitchen table. Like he still lived there. "You busy?" he asked. I shook my head, unsure if this was going to be another ambush or another strange olive branch. He looked around my place, the dishes in the sink, Ava's art projects taped to the fridge, Logan's baseball glove on the floor. Then he said quietly, like it surprised him, "You've built something good here." I didn't respond. I didn't trust it yet. He sat down, rubbed his face like he hadn't slept much. "I saw the footage," he said, "of your dad smashing your car. Disgusting." He paused, then looked me right in the eye and said what no one in the family had ever said before. "We've all known for years he's been out of line." I froze. He kept going. "The way he talks to people, the way he talks about you. We let it slide. I let it slide. And I shouldn't have." He leaned back in the chair and sighed. "You did the right thing calling the cops." Honestly, it's the only thing that finally got through to him. Maybe ever. I didn't realize how badly I needed to hear someone say that. Not because I needed permission, but because after 30-something years of being labeled the dramatic one, someone in the inner circle finally got it. Later that night, Officer Garcia stopped by. "No reason," he said. "Just checking in." But he had paperwork for the restitution, the court process, insurance forms. And let's be real, the guy didn't drive across town just to deliver forms. He nodded at my porch light. "Still broken?" I nodded. He spent 20 minutes rewiring it while I stood nearby holding a flashlight like a sidekick. When he came back inside, I handed him a soda. He didn't stay long, but just before he left, he said something that stuck. "Most people let family get away with stuff they'd never tolerate from a stranger. You changed that." 2 days later, I got a letter. No return address. Just a folded note inside an envelope dropped in my mailbox. "Family dinner. Saturday at 6. Your father wants to speak." No apology. No warmth. Just a summons. I stared at it for a long time. Then I picked up the phone. "And Jackie," I said. "You busy Saturday night?" She didn't even ask why. "Say no more," she replied. "I'm in." Because if there was going to be a reckoning, I wasn't walking into it alone. Saturday came fast. At 5:45. I dropped the kids off at Aunt Jackie's with the backpack full of snacks, their favorite movie, and one simple instruction: Don't open the door unless it's me. She gave me a sharp nod like she was ready to go to war for us. By 6 o'clock, I was walking up my parents' front steps. The house looked smaller somehow, dimmer. The Christmas decorations were still up like they were clinging to the illusion of holiday cheer, but none of the lights were on. Just fake snow and drooping tinsel. My mom opened the door. Her eyes were puffy, like she'd been crying for days. Behind her, my dad stood in the hallway, wearing the same gray sweater he used to wear when I was in high school, probably on purpose. Like he thought, dragging the past into the room would soften the present. I stepped inside. Jackie followed behind me, arms folded, eyes sharp. She didn't say a word, but the way she stood just behind my shoulder said everything. This wasn't going to be a 2-on-1. The room was full. My aunts, 2 uncles, Rachel, cousins, everyone in the family who'd ever looked away or stayed quiet when things got bad. My dad cleared his throat like he was about to give a toast. I just want to say something, he said. His voice rough. An 01 stopped him. The room went dead silent. I was wrong, he said. Just that. No excuses. No buildup. He looked at Logan's empty spot beside me. Scared you. I hurt your mom. I embarrassed this family. And I'm sorry. He turned to me. His eyes were glassy, but not fake. I've been angry for a long time, he said. At the world, at myself. But I made you the target of that anger. And I'm ashamed of myself. Ashamed. That word hit the room like thunder. Then my mom spoke. Her voice was smaller, like it had shrunk from guilt. I've let him treat you like that for too long. I convinced myself it was just who he is. That it was easier not to stir things up. I should have stood up for you. I didn't, and I'm sorry too. I looked at them both. Ava and Logan weren't here, but I could feel their little hands in mine. And then, for the first time in my life, I said it and meant it. I forgive you. But as I scanned the faces in the room, Rachel, avoiding my eyes, Uncle Pete, nodding solemnly, I felt something heavy in my gut. Not fear, not sadness, doubt, because I'd seen these people spin stories before. I'd heard them whisper in kitchens and hallways. Apologies were easy, but consistency? Accountability? That was rarer than peace on Christmas in this house. So I let them have their moment. Let them believe this was a fresh start. But deep down, I was already bracing for the moment. It all cracked again. The thaw didn't last long. For a few days, it almost felt real. My mom sent the kids a puzzle and a scarf. Logan put his together in an afternoon. Ava held up the scarf and said, "It looks like something you'd wear, Dad," and for a second, I let myself believe this might actually stick. But then came Marlene, second cousin once removed, part-time babysitter when I was 5, full-time gossip until the day she dies. I ran into her at the grocery store by the oranges. She had that syrupy smile she saves for people she secretly can't stand. "Derek, heard about everything. What a mess." I nodded, tight-lipped, trying to push past. She added, way too casually, "I just hope your dad recovers from the whole ordeal." Blinked. "Excuse me." "Well," she said, glancing around like she was about to share state secrets, "your mom's been saying this whole thing got blown out of proportion. That maybe you misunderstood. That it's all just been very stressful." I stared at her, then said, flat, "Did she mention the part where he smashed my car window at a M like a teenage delinquent?" Marlene blinked, actually startled. "No, of course not. I just meant, thanks for the concern." Cut in, grabbing my cart. "Have a peaceful day." Logan followed silently, picking up on the tension like kids always do. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't send a group text or write a Facebook essay. But that night, I called Aunt Jackie. She didn't even let me finish the sentence. "I've been hearing things," she said. "Real nasty stuff. Your mom's been on the phone spinning it like you ghosted them after they apologized. Said you cut them off over nothing. Over nothing. And your dad?" Jackie continued. "He's been telling people at the bar that you turned the kids against him. That you're unstable. That you've always had issues." I felt like someone had poured cold water down my back. But I wasn't shocked. "Not anymore." Jackie's voice softened. "They can't stand that you didn't crawl back. That you didn't need them. So they're rewriting the story to make you the villain again." I sat in the kitchen while Ava and Logan colored at the table, laughing about something I couldn't hear. and that was the moment I knew. They were never going to change. The apology wasn't a turning point. It was damage control. A performance. And this time, I wouldn't give them an encore. So I did the only thing left to do. I cut them off. Fully. Blocked their numbers. Deleted every email. Packed up the old framed photos from their house and put them in the garage. Logan asked about them once. I said, "We won't be visiting for a while." He nodded. That was enough. A week passed in total silence. Not the kind that comes with peace, but the kind that hums just under the surface, like a plugged-in wire no one dares touch. My phone didn't buzz. No calls, no fake apologies. Just stillness, until I ran into Garcia at a school fundraiser. He was at the bake sale table, awkwardly holding a tray of brownies, dressed down in a hoodie instead of his uniform. He spotted me, smiled like nothing had ever happened. "How are things?" he asked. I gave him the truth. "Weirdly peaceful." He grinned. "Good. You deserve that." Then, like he'd been saving the line, he added, "If you ever need anything or just someone to talk to who doesn't call you unstable, I'm around." He didn't linger, didn't push, just gave me that quiet offer and walked away. That night, I sat on the porch with a glass of wine while the kids watched a movie inside. The cold bit at my fingers, but I didn't care. For the first time in my life, I understood something that should have been obvious. You don't owe access to people just because they share your last name. Let them sit in the silence they created. Let them twist the story however they want. I wouldn't be there to correct them, but of course, it didn't end there. Saturday rolled around, and I got a text from Rachel. "Heads up. They're telling everyone you were invited to a family dinner tonight and refused to come. Word going around is you're still acting unstable." That word again, stable. Angry, not hurt, not betrayed. Unstable, like I was some loose cannon having a meltdown because daddy said a mean thing. "Well, Jackie, they're throwing another dinner," I said. "Yup," she replied. "Last minute thing." Made it sound like you were personally invited and chose to ignore them. Was I? Nope. I stood in my living room, watching Ava and Logan argue gently over which crayon was the real sky blue, and I realized I'd spent decades waiting for them to see me. Really? See me? One moment of recognition. One line of defense. It wasn't coming, but I could still reclaim the narrative. So I got dressed. I called Jackie and told her to meet me there. Dropped the kids off at her place early, with a movie and some popcorn. At 5:55, I pulled into my parents' driveway. The house was lit up like it was the set of a Christmas movie. 6 cars out front, laughter spilling from the windows. I walked in without knocking, and the second the door clicked shut behind me, silence. All heads turned. Mom by the kitchen with the tray of deviled eggs. Dad at the table in his serious talk button-up. My cousins halfway through their plates. I looked around the room. "So this," I said, "is the dinner I apparently refused to attend." My voice wasn't loud, but it didn't need to be. The words hit the room like a match dropped on dry leaves. My dad stood up like he was about to give some grand explanation. My mom opened her mouth, holding that ridiculous tray of deviled eggs like it was a shield. I raised a hand. "No one invited me," I said. "Let's just start with the truth." A few cousins looked away. Rachel studied the floor like it owed her an apology. I had tried again. "We assumed, given everything, that you wouldn't." "You assumed." I cut in. "And then you lied. You told people I refused to come, that I was unstable, that I was keeping the kids away to punish you." I looked around the room, locking eyes with anyone who dared meet mine. Let me be clear. My father stood in front of my son on Christmas and humiliated him. Then he smashed my car window like a coward in the middle of the night. I forgave him. He got another chance. I turned to my dad. "And what did you do with it?" "You ran your mouth. You twisted the story. You played the victim." He opened his mouth, but I didn't stop. "You had a shot to rebuild something real, and you used it to protect your ego. Not your family, not your grandson, yourself." The room was frozen. Then Jackie stepped inside, right behind me. She didn't say anything at first, just stood there, arms folded like a bodyguard with tea. Then, "So, are you going to deny it?" My mom stammered. "We didn't mean." "You meant every word," Jackie said. "You meant it when you called Derek unstable. You meant it when you lied to half this room about this dinner." I scanned the crowd. If anyone here still believes them after everything, after the footage, after the arrest, after the apology fine, that's your choice. But you don't get access to me anymore. Or my kids. You don't get to shame me and still expect an invitation. Dad's face twitched. His voice came out low. Derek, come on. No, I said. You don't get to rewrite this. And if you try, I'll release the video publicly, not out of spite to protect myself. So the next time someone says I'm unstable, they'll get to see exactly what happened. You could hear someone's fork clink softly against a plate in the back. My dad's shoulders slumped. Then after what felt like an eternity he said, almost to quiet, I lied. I exaggerated everything. I made it sound like Derek was the problem. He wasn't. He looked at me, but not with defiance anymore. Just that hollow look of someone who finally realized the fire he set was burning the wrong house. I just couldn't admit what I did. My mom whispered, "We're sorry." But it didn't land. Not this time. It wasn't satisfying. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't even enough to make me feel anything. It just was. An admission scraped from the bottom of a cornered heart. I nodded once, then turned and walked out without another word. Jackie followed. As we got to the car, she exhaled hard. You handled that better than I ever could have. I shook my head. I didn't do it for them. I did it for me. That night, Garcia texted me. Hope today wasn't too awful. Still up for that coffee sometime? I stared at the message for a second, then smiled and typed back. Yeah, I think I am. Later, just before I went to bed, Rachel sent me a screenshot from the family group chat. My dad had posted a message. I was wrong, and Derek was right to walk away. I didn't reply, didn't react, just turned off my phone, let them sit with that now. 2 weeks passed. No calls, no group messages. The chain prayer texts and birthday reminders stopped completely, and I knew better than to assume that meant peace. Silence was their favorite disguise. It always looked like growth, but it was just absence. A pause between storms. Still, I didn't flinch. Not when Janelle from the PTA told me my mom was still painting herself as a heartbroken mother abandoned by her ungrateful son. Not when I found a Facebook post buried in a comment thread. Some people forget what it means to be a son, but God sees everything. I laughed out loud. The kind of dry, hollow laugh you don't even feel. Then I sat down, pulled out a pen, and wrote one final letter. Dear Mom and Dad, there won't be a next time. No more family dinners. No more apologies, followed by betrayal. No more whisper campaigns behind my back. You lost access to me and my children the moment you decided your pride mattered more than our trust. Don't reach out again. Derek. He signed it, printed it, and dropped it in their mailbox that night. No return address, no extras. I didn't cry, didn't shake, just breathed. The following Sunday, Jackie showed up with a manila envelope. Inside, screenshots from a private group text. My parents had started a new narrative. I was cruel, delusional, using the kids as weapons, unstable, dangerous. That was it. The final snap. The quiet, invisible line finally breaking in two. I called Garcia, told him everything. He listened, then said, "There's a line between petty gossip and targeted harassment, and they just crossed it." He offered to file an official warning. I thought about it, then said, "No, let them talk. Let them choke on their own version." But I did do one last thing. I posted a photo of me and the kids at the park. Sunny day, all smiles. Caption: sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is stop explaining yourself and just live. Well, then I blocked every single relative who ever chose their version over mine. I deleted the app. I moved on, and a week later, I took Garcia up on that coffee. It turned into dinner. Dinner turned into something quieter, softer, not serious. Not yet, but peaceful, honest. And when Logan asked if Garcia was my friend, I said yes. That was enough for now. When people bring up my parents, I just smile and say, "We don't talk anymore." And that's all anyone needs to know, because I've learned something most people never do. Cutting someone off doesn't always look like slamming a door. Sometimes, it's just choosing to never open it again. Not this year, ever.